this next lesson is going to be probably the longest one of the class. It's going to be rather lengthy as we look to figure out how to create assignments and then tests and quizzes here in Schoology. So settle in and let's get going. First thing we're going to do is here we are on the course homepage. We're going to figure out where we want these quizzes and assignments to be, and we're going to open up that folder. So we're going to just click open that Unit 1 folder. There it goes. And then we're going to go back to our new best friend, the Add Materials page. Add Materials button up there. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add an assignment. We're just going to find that Add Assignment, click on it, boom. And it's going to keep loading. And it's going to add it's going to give us this conversation box here. It says Create Assignment. So we're going to talk a little bit about the constitutional underpinnings news assignment. We're just going to create an assignment, right? And within that assignment where it says description, you can just go ahead and give the assignment. So we're going to watch the news this weekend and submit a one-page paper summarizing everything we saw that pertains to constitutional rights. And as you can see in there that the spell check doesn't work within the box, and so you just have to be careful with that. We're going to make it due on let's make it due on the 16th at 11:59 p.m. and we're going to make it worth 10 points. And right now I don't have any homework or any type of categories for my grading, so we're going to click on create a new category. We're going to type in homework writing. We're just going to create a category, and these can relate to the categories that you have in PowerSchool. I'm not quite sure whether or not they're going to import them or not. If they don't, then you could go ahead and create the categories right here. Okay, and it's either going to be numeric or you could give it a letter grade or completion grade or anything like that. Okay, click on create. And it's going to go ahead and create that assignment. And so what's really neat is on the other side of that, students will see this assignment. They'll see that it's an opportunity to submit, and you can't really see it from this class or from this page. But as the submissions come in, if you look over here on the right-hand side, you'll start to see that Johnny Smith and Annie Jones have all turned theirs in, and you'll see received 0 out of 0. I don't have any students in this class, so there's 0 students in this class, but as they come in, you could go ahead and see who's turned them in and why, and then it'll tell you how to, check the students, their work as they move in. So that's how you create an assignment. All right, and one thing as you noticed is down here where it says materials index, it will automatically tag the assignment as an assignment. So students will, if they can't find it, Mr. Janzik, I can't find it in the folder. Well, it's already down here. And then notice this calendar feature over here to the right-hand side also says, hey, students, this is upcoming. It's due at 11:59 p.m. on Monday, June 6th or 16th. So if they're like, oh, I totally forgot. Well, I'm sorry. It's if you logged into Schoology, you would know it was there. Okay, so that's an assignment and how to create one. So please go ahead and create an assignment in your new class. And if you want to do that now and hit pause and get it done before we move on to tests and quizzes, that's fine. Or if we just want to keep rolling and do them both, that's fine as well. So, and this thing keeps popping up and it's driving me nuts. Okay, so let's move on to tests and quizzes. So we're going to go back to our folder. We're going to open it up. You see that our assignment's already there. We're also now going to create a test or a quiz. So again, our new best friend, the Add Materials button, click on that. Click on Add Test or Quiz. Boom. All right, you want to give it a name. So go ahead and give it a name. Right, and we're going to make it due on, let's make it due on the 17th here. Also going to be worth, let's make it worth 5 points. Okay, what is it going to be? Well, we don't have a test category in here yet, so we're going to click on Create a New Category, and we're going to make it Tests and Quizzes. Okay. Again, we want it numeric, or if you want it just to be A+, A-, that's fine. All right. You could put a time in here too if you'd like, but we're not going to put a time in. Go ahead and click Create. All right, and so now what we're going to do, this brings us to the test. And these are the tests that are taken actually online, which works out really well. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a question. And it's going to give you a whole bunch of different questions that you can choose from. You want true, false, multiple choice, ordering, short answer, fill in the blank, matching. If you have question banks, you'll be able to import those. That's more in the advanced lessons. You could definitely do that as well, okay? Or if you've already created one in Schoology, you could definitely import it there. All right, but the first thing we're going to do is let's create a multiple choice question. And it should open one up here. And we're just going to go ahead and type the body of the question. How many amendments are in the Bill of Rights? Question mark. All right, and choice 1, let's say 1. Choice 2, 27. Choice 3, 10. And choice 4 will make it 127. Okay, and then if you want to add more or remove some of these blanks, you definitely can. You could add choices, you can remove blanks. Then it's going to ask you for the correct answer, all right, whichever one that is. Okay, and then you could randomize choices. You could allow for partial credit if you'd like, and you could also put a timer on these questions. Like if you're trying to teach your students, especially if you're an AP teacher, to get to the pace of the class, the students will know that they're timed. And then how many questions or how many points is this question worth? It's going to be 1. We'll make it 1 here. Create the question, and there it is. Okay, and then students, you could preview it by clicking on preview. And you'll say, you may only attempt this test or quiz one time, begin test or quiz. And that's what it's going to look like for the students. Now let's say you want to have students show you mastery, so they could do a few questions, or they could do they could do the test a few times. If you go to settings, right through here, all right, and then you could kind of give the students instructions. You can make sure that it's available now. All right, so you're going to want to do that. So click available now. Stop, that's driving me crazy. Is there a time limit? No. If there is, you could put yes. You could say unlimited times, or 3 times, or 4 times in terms of attempt, and then you could say grade by highest score or the average score, right? So you could create whatever you'd like. The randomized order, I usually do that. Page breaks, question reviews, no. I usually set that, you can review the students, they can review the questions before they submit. Maybe you want to do that, so we'll do yes. Can the students have an incomplete submission? Right, I usually do no, just for test security. If they come across something and they're like, oh crap, I got to Google that real quick or something, I usually will say no to that. And then the students can figure out, if they want to view the submissions. If you don't want them to review, yes, or yes with correct answers, you could have the choices there. I usually do yes. We go from there. So that's in the settings, right? But make sure it says it's available now, because the default is hide now, and so the students won't be able to see it. So you got to go into settings and click on available now, and then click on save changes. All right, and when you go back to the Unit 1 folder up at the top, there it is. It shows constitutional pretest. You click on that. All right, if you need to edit it for your perspective, you can definitely go ahead and do that as well. And then what happens here is you click on results, and again, we don't have any students in this class, but you can see the student name. So like, again, John Smith would be here. The submission, how many times did he try, and then the latest attempt, and then the gradebook grade, and based upon what you put in the settings as well. So you could do that. And again, if we go back to the class page by clicking on the class title over there, it will show up in the calendar here for the students. So again, if they're like, oh, I didn't know we had a quiz, or I didn't know we had an assignment, it's all right there in the calendar. They don't even have to write it down. Okay, so what we'd like you to do for this assignment is create one assignment in your new class, and then one test or quiz with at least one question.